Welcome to the Trap House Podcast. Thanks for joining us. If you haven't already, please like, share, and subscribe on all social media platforms. And now a quick word about our sponsors. We have Duke Traps with us. Check out duketraps.com. They manufacture over 40 different models of cage traps, coil and long springs, and body gripping style traps, as well as one of my personal favorites, the powder-coated dog proofs. Check out duketraps.com. Need a place to sell your fur? Check out Groenwald Fur and Wool Company. Over 50 years in the fur business, the largest and most experienced direct receiver of wild fur in the world. Check out their website, gfwco.com. Top Lot Stretcher Company. They have all the fur processing tools you need to get the job done in the fur shed. From push pins to wooden stretchers, they got you covered. Check out toplotstretcherco.com. And this one's for the ladies that don't mind getting their hands a little dirty setting some traps. We have Trapping Girl Inc. with us. Check out their website, trappinggirlinc.com. They have a great selection of women's apparel, kids apparel, baits and lures, and trapping supplies. Check out trappinggirlinc.com. J3 Outdoors. They make American trapping products designed for maximum trapline efficiency with products like the Hags Bracket and Spring Clip, as well as the Universal Lock and Beaver Rod ends. Get the tools you need to get the job done. Find out more at j3o.com. And there's only one true way to start out the day on the trap line, and that's with a hot cup of coffee from Trapline Coffee. They have great tasting blends to choose from, as well as chocolates. Head over to traplinecoffee.com for more. Weeby Knives. Check out weebyknives.com. They have a great selection of skinning knives, fleshing knives, fur handling tools, and they'll give you the edge you need to get the job done, and you guessed it, they're wicked sharp. Check out weebyknives.com. And we'd like to welcome the newest sponsor to the team, No BS Lures. Don't let the name fool you. There's more than just bait and lure. This company offers trapline tools and hardware, fur handling supplies, and the No BS traps. Check out nobslures.com. And last but not least, Hoosier Trapper Supply, home of the Top Dog Predator Bait, Jet Fuel Predator Lure. We offer a complete line of trapping baits and lures, deer scent, trapline tools and hardware, fur processing tools, and special package offers. Head over to HoosierTrapperSupply.com. All right, welcome back to the Trap House Podcast. We got Isaac with us from Carolina Coyote. Is that the full YouTube name?
Yes, Carolina Coyote. Yeah, that's it.
It's catchy.
That's it.
The double C.
So first off,
yeah.
So do you say coyote or coyote?
I always catch myself in between both of them. I'll be talking and say coyote, or I'll say coyote, or it just tomato, really. I mean, I say both of them, really.
It's funny how that works. I feel like depends who I'm talking to. It's usually just coyote, across the board. But for some people, it just seems like, especially when it's written down or on a logo, just seems.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because it flows a whole lot better. Carolina Coyote flows a whole lot better than Carolina Coyote, but it is what it is.
Too many syllables.
That's it. Yeah, no doubt.
No, man. Thanks for, taking time to sit and chat with us. We always, want to share anything trapping related on the show, of course. And this day and age, everyone's on podcast and YouTube. So anyone that we think out there that's doing a pretty good job promoting us in a pretty good light, we like to have on the show. So
promoting trapping.
I appreciate that.
Promoting trap.
Promoting trapping. So
yeah.
But we just want the backstory. How'd you get started in all this? And
so I guess the first time I ever put a trap in the ground, my grandpa had some old traps. I couldn't tell you what brand they are. I still don't know to this day. Put a trap in the cow pasture. I was in college, and I was in college I went to NC State for college, and I was on campus. My dad called me. He was checking the traps every day for me, and that is the day I caught my very first coyote. I just done it on a whim because I didn't know anything about it. I was like, I'm going to try it. But I'll never forget it. He FaceTimed me, and it was a mangy old coyote. But that was just kind of like, oh, okay, I did it. And then it kind of settled for about a year. And then spring of 2019, I woke up one morning. I'm a very avid turkey hunter. That's my favorite thing to chase is turkeys. And I was getting up in the morning to go turkey hunting. Nobody wanted to go with me. So it was just me by myself on the last day. And I was sitting on the hillside, and I was doing some soft tree yelps. And before I knew it, I had 5 coyotes within 20 yards of me, all staring me down. And I didn't know anything about coyotes at the time. Um, so I was a little freaked out a little bit. I was like, man, I got all these suckers, you know. But after that happened, I was like, I've got to get rid of these things. And at the time, I looked up the like thermal scopes and everything. I was like, well, I ain't got that kind of money. Little did I know how much money I was going to end up dropping in all this trapping stuff. Uh, but I ended up getting some traps, and it was a very hard and brutal learning curve. Um, on the whole trapping, what works, what doesn't, as far as equipment, baits. I mean, the whole 9 yards, because I didn't know anybody at the time that did it. So that's when I kind of went to YouTube and found y'all's videos. I mean, I knew nothing about it. I was just like, I've got to get rid of these coyotes at the house and get them going. And so that was in 2019 when I first started trapping stuff, and I've been hooked ever since the first one. I got lucky though. The very first coyote trap I put in the ground, I had a first night catch. And that catch, I was 100% hooked, and I just nothing beats it. Nothing beats it. Um, yeah, that's pretty much the beginning to here we are now, where working full time job. I don't get to run the line and have Christmas Day when you're riding up to the trap and see them bouncing. I run the cameras on all of my traps now just to save time, money, and everything else to make it able for me to do it while working a full time job. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much the start, and here we are, kind of story, I guess, short and sweet.
Yeah. Well, has it taken over, or has it surpassed the turkey hunting? Is trapping number one yet?
It's past the deer hunting, that's for certain, because I can't. I'm not as consistent on killing big bucks as I am turkeys. It's just something. I guess the turkey part is more communicational than the coyotes are, but the coyote part is when you walk up to that trap and it's got 12 foot tracks around it, and not a single one stepped on the pan. You're like, why or how? And the videos from the cell cameras that I have now make it 10 times worse. Because when I get a picture of them, I will request that video and I'll watch that dude. He'll just dance around and pee or poop on the back end or whatever, and it's just like, how in the world, how they not step there? It baffles me.
Yeah.
So
I mean, one of our common recommendations is, if this is keeping you up at night, you need to just shut your cameras off.
yeah,
I
no
mean, that's
doubt,
just
absolutely.
that stuff's going on anyways, regardless of whether you're watching it or not. So,
Yep.
you know, it's it just kind of messes with your head, and most of the time you're not doing anything wrong. It's just they're getting lucky, or it's just circumstances, or whatever. So, or the
It's
frame of
just
mind that they're in, or so.
yeah, just the odds. I have one road bed this past season, and I had a dirt hole set there. I had a dirt hole and a trench set because I had a red fox that was running through there, and on the dirt hole set, I'd have the female come up, she'd sniff around and she'd pee on the back end. And then the male would come up behind her and he'd sniff around and pee on the back end. So I had 8 feet walking around it, and that didn't catch a single one of them. I was like, man, you gotta be kidding me.
What part of the state are you in?
I'm in Central North Carolina. I've trapped all of Central, from the northern Central North Carolina and the southern Central. Um, So I've been a lot of different counties and trapped a lot of red clay, sand, the loamy, spongy, like fluffy dirt, all over the place in Central North Carolina. But the red clay is hard to work with in the wintertime very much.
Yeah. Yeah. That is, yeah, for sure. So we have to ask, so you're not in an area that was affected by the hurricane?
No. Fortunately not. It wasn't too far from home. I wasn't able to. It's probably 5 hours or better from me.
Okay.
But we had a lot of rain, but it wasn't as substantial as the areas that were affected by it.
Right. Right. I mean,
So,
obviously that's been on the news consistently. So yeah, it looks
oh yeah,
absolutely terrible. I guess in your mind, you wouldn't think of Western North Carolina being affected that much by the hurricane. So
no. From my dad actually went out, him and a few other guys. I wasn't able to do the work, but they went out and took with the trailers and stayed out there for a week, just helping the farmers mend fences. Like the farmers that are in 80s and 90s that aren't able to do anything, just helping out any way they could. It wasn't really going in and helping people that were, like say stuck in a mudslide or anything like that, but it was just helping the people that, if they got 200 head of cattle and that was their livelihood, they'd help round the cows up and fix the fence and everything. So they went and done that for a week. And he told me that it was very eye-opening to go out there and see the camaraderie between neighbors and, how many people show up that ain't expecting nothing,
Right.
drop thousands of dollars to go. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
wild.
Fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, or a little of both, usually it takes a bad situation to bring people together, so,
absolutely.
which is obviously clearly better than not bringing them together in times like that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yes.
it was
Yes.
obviously very devastating. So when did you start the YouTube channel?
I started it, not, I'd say probably 2 months after I caught my first coyote. I was very dumb when I first started the channel. But when I was on like the YouTube side of things, when I myself, I didn't know anything, like I said earlier, and I'd go into the YouTube and try my hardest to learn everything I possibly could, and I just noticed that like the void of the certain things I was asking myself, like how do you do this? Well, how is he doing that? I was just like, man, I'm just gonna make my own. And it may have just been because of the trappers that I did get in touch with when I first started. Because we have a live market here in North Carolina. So that's how once I started catching them, then I got in touch with some of the live market people. But just the pet trappers that I did get in touch with, they were very, I guess, selfish of the knowledge in order to, because I'm becoming one of their competitors for selling. So I wasn't able to learn a whole lot. And like I said, that void that I was asking myself, I'm like, I'm just going to fill it myself. Like, it's not out there. I can't find it. I'm just going to make it simple and put it up on YouTube for anybody to find. That way, if there's something for the other person that's out there like me currently that doesn't know anything and is asking himself the same questions, he can have a resource to go to and find the answers he needs that are not, I'm not going to sit here and tell anybody about catching something wrong in order to better myself when he's missing, because then I catch him. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah.
I'm not a believer in that. I do not. I mean, we're all out here to help. That's the reason I started it though, just to fill the void of the questions that I was asking myself. That's why a lot of the videos are like so long and in depth, and I sometimes get way too deep into it. It's just a hole in a trap, but sometimes I'll get to overthinking it way too far. But I mean, sometimes it works. I like to say it works, but I mean, other times I'm sure I'm just way overthinking it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of people when they first get started that they want that kind of explanation when it's like you said, it's not that complicated. It's not rocket science, it's just like basic fundamentals and stick with that. And that's usually what works. And after that, it's just like hard work and time dedicated to it. But
yeah,
getting going, I was the same way. Like I wanted to know. I remember coming in here. Hell, it's almost been 20 years, Charlie.
Yeah.
And looking at all these traps, I'm like, what are all these numbers with there's different traps. Why is that one a number 2 and this is a 3, but they look the same? Like I had so many questions, but I didn't have to necessarily know everything before I got started. The best part is just getting out there and learning. Like, when
yes,
you mess up and mistakes can take you so far.
yeah, definitely. I thoroughly enjoy. Like, I enjoy catching the animals. Don't get me wrong, but my favorite part is like if I get a 300-acre piece of land that somebody wants me to catch the coyotes on, I thoroughly enjoy walking that whole entire piece of property, every roadbed, every trail, everything else, and like scouting it out and putting the traps in the ground and like breaking down the property. I enjoy that almost as much as walking up to a tight chain.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so much fun. I'm just like, oh, I see what you're doing. You'll follow the tracks and see where they meet and where they're going. Like, oh, okay, I got you. I know what you're doing. I know why you're down here. I enjoy that a lot.
Yeah. That's one thing that I can relate. Anytime you're on a new piece of property or new geography, new out of state, whatever, I really enjoy that. Just trying to figure out what you're doing, and sometimes it's like going to the moon and trying to figure it out. But most of the times the things still apply, it's just different circumstances. But yeah, I really enjoy that too.
Trying to make sense of random foot tracks.
Yeah. Yeah. So for instance, we go to Arkansas and trap, and a lot of times we don't see any sign. I mean, it's crazy between just
Really?
between the maybe being dry and the roads just being
Rocks.
rock, and
Mm.
you might occasionally see it dropping or whatever. So then then you're coming down to like locations that just make sense. Some of it turns out to be random, and some of it, generally turns out to be okay. But one thing that we've noticed over the years too, going down there, and we've been going down there a long time, but with bobcats, we've only had a few places that look like consistently caught them, you know, back to back years or whatever. Generally, and I think it's probably relates more to breeding season. Just if we go later, there's no rhyme or reason to catching a big tom because they're just out cruising, and one spot that caught them one year probably won't catch it the next year, even though we'll set it up because it was obviously good then. It's just
Right.
sometimes there's not an answer to that, so. But.
Yeah. Yeah. I've had, that's like right now, like I've got a few traps in the ground. I went to one was like a removal job. A lady has chickens and she's lost like 6 chickens, guineas, and ducks from these family of foxes at her house. And I was out there looking for the tracks to put the trap at and everything. And it's just been it. Even though we just had this hurricane come through, we've been like extremely dry since then. We're like 2 inches below average right now.
Mhm.
So there's no, and a red fox doesn't weigh a whole lot anyway. For even enough for it to really dig its claws in to find those small details. It was just very hard to find the tracks, but I just do like you were saying, just find the pinch points, the intersections, the swag in the field or the low terrain, where he's going to creep up and see before he jumps on the rabbit or whatever. But it's been lucky. I caught a red. I went 3 days. I went red fox, coon, red fox, and off of 2 traps on 30 acres. So I was
Yeah.
pretty happy about that.
Yeah.
To just happen to pick the right pinch point on the whole place.
Yeah.
Well, I'm assuming those red foxes are well, of course, raccoons work on them too. Probably the red foxes are the one working on the chickens would be my guess. But
Yeah, she said she walked out on the front porch and the fox had a guinea in its mouth and she ran outside screaming at it. And she told me when she started screaming at it that it just ran a lot faster with the guinea in its mouth.
that's
So,
pretty good to catch a guinea too, because those things are pretty.
oh yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
they alarm everybody else, and then they're pretty fast and they can fly, unlike most chickens.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. That's what I was surprised, but she lost like six chickens, like 2 guineas, and 3 of her ducks.
yeah.
But she's got 5 of them out there running around. That I've caught 2, and I know there's 3 more out there that's running around currently. So we're still getting after them. I actually had one of the foxes step into a trench set, and he was out there. I was watching on the camera. He was on the outskirts, like the catch circle from where I caught the first fox and raccoon. He was kind of on the outskirts of it, scratching. And I don't know if he threw a rock in the trap bed or what, but it was a rock in there, maybe the size of a quarter or between a quarter and a 50% piece. He stepped down in the trench, and the rock got stuck in between the jaws, and it never touched him.
Right.
I mean, the jaws never even close enough for to touch him. I was scratching my head all day long at work. I was like, how did he not get caught? And I went out there and I seen that. I was like, man, you got to be kidding me. So it's been a challenge to catch him because he kind of knows what's up now and has a little bit of education about himself.
Yeah.
So,
I think we've all had that happen more than once. So,
Oh
Yeah,
aggravating.
use a backing that's a little light, and it's they're rolling around on it, and it rolls into your trap. I mean, just stupid stuff, But
Oh, yeah.
yeah, I knew better than that, but it still happened. But
yes.
So
Yeah.
what are you gonna do
I had-
to trick him? Are you gonna do a flat set now or what?
So my favorite my go-to set for red fox is a trench set. I've had too many foxes just screw around and try to dig up the trap. And it can be bedded solid. It's just like they know. I don't know. Maybe it's probably something I'm doing, but I just have way higher, like 9 out of 10 times I'm going to catch him in that trench set the first time he walks to it. It's like they're more brave about stepping down. But I always do 2 traps most of the time at every location. I put at least 2. And I'm going to change it up. I'm going to have one really loud, like, whether it's a 3-inch dirt hole or a trench set, and then I'll have something subtle, whether it's a rock with a flat set or a double punch hole flat set that's underneath a tuft of grass. So currently I had the trench set and then a flat set, just a double punch hole with a tuft of grass. And then he got caught, and I went in there and I put a secondary trap on. So I've got a trap on the front side and then on the right side in case he walks down the side to urine or mark it or anything, because he's done that a few times and avoided this trap over here altogether. So that's kind of that's the setup now. He hasn't walked by since then, but I'm pretty hopeful that when he does walk by it, it'll be game over. Because he keeps messing with that flat set and doesn't really. He kind of like he'll lean really hard and look like he's scared and nervous to enter that catch circle of that trench set now. So that's kind of why I'm focusing my attention to the flat set, which is that's why also what's nice about having the cameras is you can see them. Okay, they're clearly avoiding this entire trench set. But my game plan is if that doesn't work, he had targeted like the scat pile that was in the catch circle multiple times. And if the secondary trap at the flat set doesn't work, I'm literally going to take a piece of red fox scat and put it in between the two traps, kind of like a triangle between all three traps, and put a piece of the red fox scat, put some red fox urine on it, and put a trap on it. And I've caught a lot of them like that. The smart ones that are just too. They see a bunch of their buddies get caught. You just take a piece of scat and a trap, and you can catch them.
Yeah.
I've done that so many times with the last straggler. You done caught all of his buddies. Just need to get him, and that's the best way I've ever done it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, they're territorial. I mean, they're always going to check out what else is going on there. So yeah, that's definitely a good plan. So do you guys have gray foxes too, right?
yes.
To me, they're even more frustrating than the reds as far as wanting to mess with your set, rolling in it, and
Pulling pan covers,
just whatever, just
Yep. When I first started trapping, I didn't like the pan cover, like the wire screening looking
Mhm.
pan covers. Then I transitioned to polyfill, like the pillow stuffing,
Mhm.
and something about that pillow stuffing, the gray foxes could smell. But every time they walk up to it, they would scratch the polyfill out from under the pan,
Mhm.
and it'd just be the pan sticking out. Since then, I've transitioned to peat moss inside the jaws, and they don't ever mess with it no more.
Yeah.
That's that from my experience. It's I guess it just smells like dirt. I really don't know, but it works a whole lot better than anything else. It stinks having to carry around a second bucket. That little bag of polyfill was kind of nice. Just grab a wad of it, stick it in the little trapper bag for your bucket, and roll on. But I'd rather have not dug up traps and animals than and carry an
Yeah.
extra bucket.
Yeah. Yeah, what we did was we were using the screens, and that was just like terrible. Where the gray foxes are up in our area, we have no gray foxes, and we don't have that many reds. But they're up here, they're fine. The coyotes, it's not an issue or whatever. But if we're in an area where there's grays, we just went to wax paper, and then that droops down around the pan, so there's no edge that they can easily get a hold of. So
Right.
that seems to be considerably better than the screen. So
Yep, definitely.
And
Does the wax paper like hold scent? Have you noticed that at all? Like
I
holding
don't think
scent
so.
at all?
Yeah,
No?
I don't think it's been an issue. So
Gotcha.
yeah, it hasn't caused any issues. So
Yeah. I mean, it will get saturated at some point, depending on how long it's been there and weather, but it seems
Right.
to work way better than the mesh.
I mean, normally we only got
Gotcha.
traps in the ground. If it doesn't make a catch, it's probably only going to be there 10 days max. I mean, generally. So
Right.
it'll hold up to that, and then obviously, usually prior to that, you'll have a catch of whether it's your complete target animal or your non-target, and then of course you're going to change it out then. So, but
Right.
we did polyfill in the past. I think
I never did it.
it's
I never liked the idea of just putting anything under there that could
yeah.
foul up my trap. But we used to sell. Do we even sell that?
We used to sell those underalls, those like foam pre-cut things.
Yes. Yes.
But they were like
Yeah.
they were like a sponge. So I mean, if you were in a wet and then it froze, they were kind of an issue, So
Yep. Exactly. Yep. I never was a true like I'd used the underalls before, but your point is good, but another perspective was if your pan tension is set for 5 pounds and you put that sponge under it, does it make it 5.8 or 6.2, or does it
Mhm.
add to the amount of weight that it takes to actually fire that trap off? I don't know. I didn't ever test that because I was started and was done with underalls very quick. So but I like the peat moss because like we get a lot of rain in the wintertime. It seems like we never get the rain in the summer when we need it. We always get all of it as soon as January gets here. Um, Using the peat moss inside the jaws, I guess it kind of like fills in everything a lot better than like say like a pan cover wood or the polyfill wood. Um, and then you top that with the wax sand which I bed my basically the entire trap. Not just the upper cover. I put it on the bottom. I mean, it's pretty much surrounded completely. But with the wax sand and then that peat moss inside the jaws, it seems like even though we may get overnight rain, that's not like a downpour. But you can walk up to the trap and you can see where the dirt hasn't settled too much to where it's obvious that there's a pan and the jaws are there. So I like that a lot, especially when some of my farms are 30, 45 minutes away from my house and I have to go all the way out there just to reset a trap because it rained, or reset 12 traps just because it rained.
Right.
So I kind of like that. I'm like, okay, I had a light shower. I'm okay. We can just let it hunt for a few days.
Mhm.
So
What kind of so you got cameras on every trap you have, or
yes,
how many
if I put a trap in the ground, I put a camera on it. Yes.
Wow.
So you guys are legal to check like that then?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
So my cell cameras, I can go on my cell camera app anytime. I use the Reveal X Pros. The X Pros don't have any of the red lighting that emits, when you walk by it like a deer camera does. So therefore that's why you're able to use it for coyotes. If you use anything that's got that red flash, they're just gonna see that red flash and they're gonna bolt and
Right.
run the opposite way, not work the trap. But when I can take that app and request a picture on every single camera whenever I want to. So I wake up every morning at 4:30 and hit request photo on all my cameras, and the camera will send me a picture 2 minutes later, and that's how I check my traps. So it keeps me from driving for 3 hours, to check
Yeah.
traps, wasting the gas and then being late for work and not getting any sleep because I don't already sleep already. So staying up till midnight, 12:30 editing videos, and then going to bed at or waking up at 4 a.m. And then going to work all day just to trap in the afternoon at night. It's rough in the wintertime. I don't sleep.
Yep.
So-
I know the feeling sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess just a heads up for everybody that's, obviously most people are going to be listening outside of North Carolina. Check your laws to make sure that you're legally allowed to use your camera as your check. That you don't.
Yeah.
Some states you have to literally physically walk to the set and check. They don't go for the cameras. I think the cameras make good sense, so but
Absolutely, because I mean,
uh,
it saves me so much time. I mean, there's a lot of money invested in those cameras. I mean, if you get the X Pro with the lithium battery to last longer in the cold time, and you put a yearly plan on it like I do, I mean, you're looking at $280 per camera, just to put it up there. But that in the back end, think about how much gas you're using to go check 50, 60 traps,
oh
and
yeah.
they're all the traps are all over the place. I mean, it may not feel like it when you're buying it, and then that bill comes in for the yearly plan for all those cameras to come out. But I mean, it makes a lot of sense if you add up all the miles and the price of gas and all that good stuff.
Right.
It's very convenient. I will say that it is.
Right. Well, and like you said, with working a full-time job, you wouldn't be doing it otherwise. So
I couldn't. There's no way. There's
Yeah.
no way. I mean, I might could run a dozen traps really close to the house, but then like I would limit myself so much on the amount of animals I'd catch. Because I mean, a few miles from the house, you're pretty much hunting the same group of coyotes. Not I mean, some minus a few stragglers, but I mean, it'd be tough to say the
Yeah.
very least.
Yeah. Yeah, with coyotes, you have got to be spread out. I mean, otherwise you're trapping the same coyotes. If you got 300-acre farms side by side and you got permission on both, well, it's the same coyotes. I mean, unless you happen
Yeah.
to be on the edge of a home range, which is probably fairly unlikely, but
Yeah.
just, coincidentally. But Yeah, it's just you're kind of trapping against yourself, and you might catch them quicker, maybe if you're on both farms at the same time. But overall, you're much better being spread out, different groups.
Yeah, I had two farms last year that are right next door neighbors. They're both like I think one of them was like 300 some acres, the other one was like five. And they were like I mean money spot farms. I mean I called a bunch of coyotes off his place, and like both the guys were happy. I sent them pictures of them like, man, you got another one, But fast forward to last year, and I went to go set those traps, and I noticed that the back portion of the property, which butts up to both of those properties, that I'm able to trap, they cut over the entire thing. And so I went through and set the historical spots and a few places that I noticed like the year prior of the traffic that's been going through there that I missed and didn't put a trap on. And I was on that property for a month and a half, and I caught one coyote, and that was it. And I've noticed this a lot, but if anytime you're trapping a place and they have cutover next door, them coyotes might come through there on that property you got permission on, but they're going to stay in that cutover because it's just so much easier hunting, and the game that they're able to, like the mice, the rabbits, the birds that are sleeping in the briars, all that availability to them, it's right there knocked down at their eye level pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
It stunk because those were like my top two money farms, and the cutover I couldn't get permission on. So,
The cutover being a clear cut for timber.
yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah. They cut all the timber off of it, and it was just, I mean, thick and just pine or just laps of tree tops and everything else. That them coyotes stayed on that whole block of. I mean, I was there physically putting traps in the ground, and the coyotes were howling and yipping on the cutover property.
Yeah.
But I mean, they never would come over. They came through one time, and I caught one, and that was it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I mean, properties, once you're on a good location, historically, it's good year in, year out until something like that happens. Or in the case where we're at, where it's pretty urban, we got urban sprawl. So if somebody decides to build a house or,
yeah,
or in some cases, actually a housing addition, I mean, clearly that changes things. But yeah, just, normally it's good year in, year out. It's just the way it is. So something's got to change.
Definitely.
But
Yep.
So you like the trench set? What's trap do you like to use?
MB 550s and the Duke 550s. That's kind of what I like them personally, and I always recommend those to everybody that is getting started or just because they're simple. You take it out of the box, you get the grease off of it, you can go put it in the ground. You don't have to touch it. You don't have to put the night latch or anything really. It's double swiveled. The base plate's in the center, which I like that a lot. When I first started, I had a few traps that were kind of were base plated and the chain pulled off of like the right or left side of the trap, and I hated that a lot because it seemed like if you catch that animal in the center of the jaws and they yank on it, their foot's going to slide across the jaws to the other lever. And I mean, obviously, like I said, sell them to live market here. When you have that sliding, it doesn't go fare well for you.
yeah.
So but that's kind of like why I always recommend and use the Duke 550s, MB 550s. I want to get some of the 450s. I just haven't bit the bullet and done it yet. Just to try it. I've got a buddy of mine. He actually takes the Duke 450s and puts 4 coils on them and catches coyotes left and right with them. And he's like, and he's got a friend of his that has these like the breakdown cameras, like the slow down. Excuse me, real quick. But it's like the camera like catches slow motion really fast, and the 450 closes way faster than a 550, just with 2 coils itself.
Yeah. It the 450s, I think the only downside to that trap is it's going to hold whatever gets in it. I mean, it's an awesome made tough trap. The only downside is just you're losing jaw spread. Other than that, it's a great trap, and particularly if you've got heavy areas where you got a lot of foxes or whatever, it's even better. So, do you use the foxes on the live market too, or are you skinning those, or?
Live market for grays, reds, and coyotes.
Okay.
Everything but a bobcat.
Okay.
Which we don't catch bobcats. There's not a whole lot around here. I've caught 3, I think, total. So haven't really had it's always a really special treat when you catch a bobcat.
Yeah.
For me anyway.
That's cool.
I think it is for most of us. Whether you
Yeah,
catch,
yeah. I
whether you
mean,
catch
they're
shovel.
so awesome. I
Yeah.
mean, they are not scared of absolutely anything. I mean, they're so cool.
Well, there was a guy in here yesterday here at the shop. We were talking about him because we don't have a season here in Indiana. We're about a year away from having a season, but most coyotes, when you catch them, they're very submissive. They'll lay down and, they're,
Yeah.
once they realize that they're probably their second
jig
or,
is up.
once they
Yeah,
realize what's
there's no
up.
chance.
But bobcats, they don't matter if they're 5 pounds, 20 pounds, 30 pounds, they are out to get you. I mean,
Yeah, buddy.
they're not messing around. So,
No, no. The only time I've had a coyote that doesn't cower down was like catching like a big alpha male.
yeah,
Then they don't bow down either.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
There's some of the females every now and then.
yeah,
do
once
get
in a while,
it.
yeah, female too, yeah. The big adult, big matures, yeah.
Just like at home. I was just kidding.
You better watch out. You better delete that part off right
Well,
now.
I'm just editing, don't worry. Oh man. So you got big plans for this season or just kind of sticking around home or within, an hour or so from home?
So I kind of branched off this year to do a few more like removal jobs, like I did for that lady with the foxes, getting the chickens. I kind of want to venture more towards that and kind of spread. Like when I went, she knew nothing about it, and I was able to explain to her that the traps are humane as they've ever been. They don't hurt. I set the trap off with my hand right in front of her, showed her. I'd like to venture off into more stuff like that, and hopefully kind of pursue that as a career. That's what I'd like to do is just to be able to do the trapping and stuff full time. But those are kind of come and go. It's going to be spread a lot easier for me by word of mouth from her. So I was really happy when I went 3 nights in a row, red fox, coon, red foxes. For her, she's like, "Oh, this guy knows what he's doing. He's coming to get, he's right on the money," which was great. But as far as any other plans, picking up new farms, I'd like to get some more cameras and more traps just to branch out some more. But that's pretty much it. Really, just I have the number of 60 that I would like to be surpass on coyotes this year. Even though I am getting a late start. But that's kind of my goal is 60. We don't have crazy numbers where I'm at the East Coast in North Carolina, towards the coast. You can catch 60 really quick. I mean, you can. There's a guy out there that I know that caught 300-400 all the time, no
Mhm.
problem. But here in Central North Carolina, it's a little less numbers, especially in my location. So 60 is the number to get. That's what we're hunting for. If we
That's
get
the goal.
past that, I'm happy. Yeah, that's it.
How about water trapping? You dabble in that a little bit here and there or haven't really messed with it yet?
I've never done it. I've closest thing to water trapping I could get to is putting dog proofs on creek banks. That's about as close to the water as I've ever been with trapping. But I want to learn. I want to get into the beaver trapping, just to be able to another resource of removal jobs, and secondly to gain access to my own amount of beaver meat, beaver castor, to make your own bait and stuff like that. Just to I like piddling with it, like making my own baits and just a little concoction just to see, well, do I know what I'm doing? I mean, not really know what I'm doing, but can I get lucky enough, because it's a lot that goes on into the bait making, like how much it taints and what you put in it, et cetera, et cetera. But at the same time, it can be really simple, just like everything else. I made a bait out of some scrap deer meat years ago, and this is when I was trapping a different location of Central North Carolina down south. But I made some bait, and no matter where I put that bait at around the where I was trapping at, there's more bobcats there, but I only caught bobcats on that bait. That was it, just bobcats. And I gave it to a buddy of mine. He caught 2 bobcats with it, but no coyotes with it. It wouldn't. I don't know if there's anything on it or just the luck of the draw. What walked by first? I didn't have cameras at the time, but in my opinion, at the time, I made the best bobcat bait out of
Yeah.
like that's all it was catching with it. So.
No, I get what you mean. It's kind of like guys that like to go fly fishing and they want to tie their own tie or fly and catch
Yeah.
with that. I'm sure there's probably the perfect fly that you can purchase for whatever trout or whatever you're after. But It's just something about doing it yourself that's cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Yeah,
there's a lot of
absolutely.
trappers that mess around with it. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, for sure.
I think it's just like the process of kind of like walking the property, and breaking it down. You're kind of like, well, the only thing I haven't broke down yet is the bait. How hard can it be? And then you go diving into it. You're like, whoa, this is complex. But well, let me see if I can do it anyway.
Yeah.
I guess it's kind of like the self satisfaction of, can I make this and it actually be effective? On the line, because I've done everything else. I've put the trap in the ground. I found the intersection, but can I make the concoction to actually draw his nose into that spot? So when you kind of get that, it's kind of like the trifecta of satisfaction.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was gonna switch gears. Go ahead.
Oh, just the whole idea as far as satisfaction goes is just to get something to step in the circle like that is
Yeah.
just crazy to me. Like they can go in
It's
absolutely
addicting.
anywhere, and you can really hone in and skillfully, consistently get get an animal to step where you want him to step. I mean, that says something.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, a little inch and a half circle. Yeah, it's hard to. When you tell people that, they're like, "Oh wow, well, I thought the trap was just a big thing, and they stepped on it and da da da." Like, no, it's an inch and a half trigger. I mean, that's you make them step on the top of a soda can. Like, whoa, a lot more complex than most people understand.
And you say you're on a 300-acre farm, and they got to step in that inch and a half circle. And realistically, that coyote's probably running up to 10 square miles. So it's like,
yeah, exactly,
yeah,
exactly.
that is, I mean, clearly like needle in a haystack almost, So, but
yeah, and you can't pull that coyote 5 foot. You got to put it under his feet. At maximum, 12, wherever his head can turn and sniff. That's about how close that trap needs to be on his track if you can possibly do it.
yeah,
Trying to pull them the 5-6 foot away from where they're already walking is extremely difficult.
yeah. The wind's got to be right, and they got to be in the right frame of mind, and the whole deal. So
Yes.
When I was first got started in this, when I was a kid, there would literally be in some of the traffic supply catalogs that this lure was going to work for, 500 yards or they'd just write crazy stuff in there, and you just thought it was just this absolute magic formula that was going to, if you put it out, stuff was going to come running for all across the
right.
country.
What catalogs were this?
It was I'm pretty certain it was under a Hallbaker description. But
man.
It was a long time ago.
He's within a square mile. You got it.
Yeah.
Guaranteed.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah.
Money back guaranteed.
Yeah.
So we did see a video of you talking about different baits and stuff. What's your favorite bait?
Oh yeah. I have to say now you have to ask me what I'm targeting. That's the difference. If I'm targeting a red fox, I'm going top dog and Vixen Elixir all day long. That is the combo. If it gets, I mean that I've caught more red foxes on that combo in a trench set. That like those two in a trench set with a little bit of sheep's wool in the bottom of the hole, and that is going to catch a red fox. If it is there, he will get caught in that.
Yeah.
Unless he's educated like the one I outsmarted.
That's definitely one of our go-tos, just across the board. Coyotes, foxes, and bobcats. I mean, it just consistently works. So
I'd say that our Vixen Elixirs are #1 seller that goes out of here.
Yeah.
As far as
Really?
quantity,
Yeah.
all over the country.
Really?
Yeah. We sell a lot of that.
Gotcha. I hadn't personally where my location. I don't know if that has anything to do with it. It may not. I don't know. But the red foxes seem to. I don't know if it's the bait or if it's something in the lure. I have no idea. But it's just like they'll go to that over a skunky smell, or they'll go to that over a louder bait. I'm not sure. I mean, I've had to watch the foxes walk past, or walk up to, but not really work the set, but kind of close enough where they can smell it. That makes sense. They're nowhere near the trap, but I know that they can smell it. But when they get to the top dog and the Vixen Elixir, it's just like nothing stops them. They go straight into it.
Yeah.
They're just straight committed fully, and you catch them halfway up their elbow.
Yeah.
So
I got a friend of mine that he lived in Iowa, and he used our red fox gland lure, and he just thought it was, I mean, it worked awesome. Worked on coyotes, but it worked on foxes too. And he moved to Wyoming, and he used it there, and it caught, but it wasn't in his view, it wasn't as effective as it was in Iowa for him. And what happened was, or what he kind of figured out was that they weren't in his area of Wyoming, they were not as territorial as they were in his area of Iowa. So it wasn't.
I'm talking about EJ.
Yeah, it wasn't as productive, and it was more the circumstances of the animals themselves and the dynamic of the animals in that area. So
Yeah, like the ratio of population that contributed to the dominance factor.
Yeah. And they were, it was just a completely different scenario. So Isaac, when you started your channel, did you start with trapping only, or did you start across the board hunting?
Fishing, all of it.
When I first started, only thing I did, because I started during the trapping season, and started up the channel and just videoed trapping content, and that was it. And I would take the camera with me every now and then, to the deer woods and go hunting. But it's a whole lot harder to predict a deer where he's going to walk at. And like I said earlier, I'm not that great at shooting monster bucks. I can go in there and shoot a doe and stuff like that, but nobody's going to watch that. Everybody can kill a doe, really. But it really just started with the trapping. But I picked up the hunting and the fishing sometimes, just to kind of like a filler during the off season. Really just to keep kind of like the people coming back, give them something a little small to watch. And then I'll throw in like little like the bait breakdown in the summertime and stuff like that, just to have some kind of content going out.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew starting out I was going to video the trapping, and I knew for a fact I was going to video the turkey hunting, because the turkey hunting memories are beyond that's me and my dad's favorite thing to do together, was turkey hunting. And that's when I used a lot of my vacation days during turkey season. And that's the whole reason why I started the trapping world anyway, was to help the turkeys out. And the effects of that are very dramatic. It's a big difference in, trapping the predators, coons, your coyotes, bobcats, all that, versus not. The vocalness of the turkeys is a lot different. I went down to past 2 years. I went down to Alabama one year, then Georgia the next year. Turkey hunt with my second cousin. He's down there, and when I was down there, once you get accustomed to walking roadbeds and finding tracks, you can't turn it off. And we were down there turkey hunting, and the amount of tracks that you would see, coyote and bobcat primarily, was absolutely an insane amount of tracks. And it carried over to the turkey hunt while we were down there. These turkeys would gobble 3 or 4 times in the tree and fly down and maybe gobble one time. And then after that, they would not say anything else, which is strange for an Eastern. Most of the time, they're known for their thunder and stuff. So it just goes to show that trapping can have a very good effect for your turkeys, deer, and especially rabbit hunters. Around here, a lot of rabbit hunters will call me, like the last month of their rabbit season, like, hey man, just come catch them for us better, make next year a little bit better. Okay, you got it.
Yeah.
So,
That's fun.
So does your trapping content generally get more attention than your hunting and fishing content, or?
Absolutely. Yeah, everybody enjoys the trapping content a lot more, which is kind of like, I was kind of upset for a long time. You can ask anybody in my family about me calling the channel Carolina Coyote, because of it narrowing the niche down so minute to coyotes only. I was like, man, I gotta come up with another name. This is 2-3 years deep or whatever. I was like, last year I was trying to come up with something different. I was like, you know what? It is what it is. That's the name of the channel. If they want to watch the hunting video that I post, they can watch it. If not, I can go back and watch it in 10 years.
Right.
Who cares?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard to rebrand after you've done a handful of years.
Yep.
But,
Yeah. And I think,
Absolutely.
I think generally the trapping, although there's definitely trapping channels out there for sure. I've Stu Miller and some, there's obviously
there's
several big trapping channels, but the hunting, that is definitely more difficult. There's some big channels on that, and I think it's harder to break into that. Well, I guess it's probably what I'm getting
I feel like the overload of that, like there's not as many, I wouldn't say not as many trappers, but it's just, I guess the trapping part of things is just kind of like, unless you're in it, you don't think about it.
Right.
You know, if you're not in the trapping world, you don't think about the trapping world. But when fall comes around, leaves start falling, you see people in orange, you think about people in orange. You don't think about me riding around my truck with a dog box or anything like that on it, or buckets in the back, or
Right.
stinking the back of the truck stinking like the high heaven. But you don't think about that. But I'm trapping. You just don't know it because I'm not walking around in camouflage and an orange hat.
Right.
You know.
Right.
So, but
I think that's a really good point that a lot of people you run into that's like, oh, I didn't even know that stuff existed. There's no trappers around here. And it's once you're involved, then you realize, yeah, there's more trappers than what you think. They may be more spread
absolutely.
out. You know, they may be more spread out than they were in the 70s and 80s, but there's trapping's alive and well. I mean, there's a number of, there's a lot of trappers out there. So
Oh yeah, it's still going on whether people like it or care to acknowledge it or not.
right, right.
It's you just have to look. You look for something, you'll find it.
Yeah. So what advice? What's your couple three things that you tell people that are just starting out? What kind of advice do you give them?
The best advice is to, if you're just getting started, set all your intersections because that's going to be your highest probability of a coyote walking by. Instead of me telling you to hunt the place down, just go set the intersections, whether it's 2-3 lane roads, whatever. Make your bait hole deep and bed the trap solid. Yeah, that's the biggest things, in my opinion, because nothing worse than having the bait dug out or the trap dug up. You can have that trap 2 foot away from the hole. As long as it's bedded solid, you have a chance of catching it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess that's kind of like the biggest difference between the way I set traps and y'all, because I've watched a lot of y'all's videos, how close you set your traps to the bait holes. I set mine so much further back, and you have no idea how many people will message me or email me like, "Man, how far do you have your trap back?" I'm like, "Look, man, hey, just eyeball it the best of your ability. I mean, just put your mind in the coyote." Yeah. I mean, some people I watch, they'll say, "Well, I put have to hold their hand up to their bait hole and like, okay, right here. Hey, just throw it in the ground.
Yeah.
Just put it in the ground and just if he wants that butts in that hole and you've got that hole deep enough, he will move his feet for it.
Yeah.
So
he'll dance until he gets caught.
Yeah.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah, that's probably the three most, especially the bedding the trap solid part. Was probably the most instrumental and fastest learning curve I had to figure out. Which I think that's true for every trapper because you really don't pay attention to it at the very beginning, but once you get dug up enough and you get frustrated, you're like, okay,
Yeah.
Wiggle it in there and pack it down.
Yeah. And may or may not advise to using a camera.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. You can learn a whole lot off them cameras.
Beneficial to use.
It is, but some people it just drives them so crazy that some of it.
Yeah, you don't need to.
Waste
your time worrying about stuff.
Yeah, you're just worrying.
But just for you to okay, when you catch one, you can review how every single, like when you said about the fox, you probably watched every time on the Vixen combo, and they would come straight in, and you started taking notes like, hey, every time I do that, they're like beelining straight to it, versus dancing around, circling, and whatever they do.
Absolutely. Yeah, the cameras can be very bad for some people that are like perfectionists. Like I try to do the best I can, but if it's not perfect, as long as it'll work, that's my biggest thing. But like I feel like a perfectionist gets a hold of a camera and puts it on a trap set, and a coyote or whatever walks by and it doesn't get caught, they're going to go out there the next day and change everything and just change this, change that. And then the coyote walks by again, they're going to go back and change this, change that. It's just the trap's there. If it's bedded solid and that bait hole is deep enough and you got coyotes walking by, he will get caught. It's just a matter of when.
Yeah.
If you can be patient enough to let him walk by.
That's like the guy that's continually moving his tree stand because he saw it's up there.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
But just leave it alone. Just let it ride. It'll connect. So
Yeah.
And most beginners that haven't trapped before, it's like once you catch one or two or three, you're over the hump. I mean, it definitely comes in things fall into place much quicker or much easier. So
yeah, absolutely, because you get more of like the I guess the muscle memory of the trapping, of doing the whole set. And you get a whole lot faster at making those sets. It don't take you 10 minutes to do one, or you can get a whole lot more consistent with everything in that aspect once you catch 3 or 4 of them.
Right.
Um,
right.
So
Have you tried the jet fuel yet?
I have not. I have not.
Guaranteed to bring them in no matter how far.
No matter how
100%.
far, 3 miles.
100%. Hey, it's the only lure I have my name associated with, so it's the best out.
Oh, okay. I understand. Kind of like my bobcat bait.
Yeah, just
that
like that.
I didn't write anything down on.
I'll send you a little sample bottle, and then you'll be hooked, man. Cool.
So, quick question: Are you going to the National Trappers Convention in Virginia next year?
I hadn't even looked that far ahead. But if it's not too far, I'd like to go. I always get like I'm the job that I have is like primarily busy in the summertime, which is perfect for trapping. We're slower in the winter. So like when we have like the North Carolina Trappers Association get together, it's always in the middle of our busy season, and I'm not able to get away from work to go do that. So but if the one in Virginia is not that far away, then yeah, I probably most likely will be going to it. Just depends on, I guess, the date and time of when it falls together.
I think it's the third. I believe it's the third. I think it's the third weekend of July. Don't write that in stone, but that's roughly when it is.
Gotcha. Yeah,
and,
that'll just depend on the whole work situation, really. As far as that goes, so just I make them happy in the summertime, so that when I call them, hey, I'm gonna be about an hour late because I gotta go get this coyote out of the trap. They don't fuss at me. I got a really, really good boss, just to say the least. My boss is awesome, and he lets me when I catch one, all I have to do is text him and say, hey, I'm gonna be a little late. He knows I'm gonna be there, but I gotta get this animal out of the trap first, and he's cool with it.
yeah.
So
So what do you do?
I work in irrigation.
Okay.
So commercial and residential irrigation. So
Okay.
like summertime and early fall when people are seeding, I am slap busy,
Right.
working till 7, 8 o'clock at night. So
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Well, it was great, man. Thanks for chatting with us. It's been great to
Absolutely.
actually finally talk to you, meet you digitally, not in person, but digital
Definitely,
world.
definitely.
that's the reason I asked
Are
you
y'all-
if you're going to the NTA, so we could meet you in person. But so if
Are y'all
hopefully-
y'all planning on going there?
Yeah, we always go to the NTA, and the FTA was there this past summer, and it'll be at the same fairgrounds for the NTA in 25. So, anyways,
Gotcha.
so yeah, if you definitely we'll
I
meet
might have
up.
to peel away and come meet y'all and hang out and talk trapping because I can do it for hours.
Yeah, and if you ever go to an NTA, it's like you'll never see that much trapping in one place. It's absolutely crazy. So every dealer
Really?
imaginable, and then anybody walking around, it's
Yeah.
everybody's there. So it's crazy.
As soon as you pull into the fairground, you start smelling skunk in the air.
Yeah, you can
And
smell.
You know
Oh,
what
it's
time
just
it is.
like yeah,
You
buddy.
know what time it is.
You can't beat that.
You got any last thing you want to say, or?
I just appreciate the opportunity to get on here with y'all and chit chat and talk trapping. Because I mean, like I said, when I first started, I was watching a lot of y'all's videos, and so to have y'all reach out to me, based off the content and stuff that I put out, means a lot. So I appreciate the opportunity to come out here and look forward to meeting y'all hopefully this summer.
Yeah.
At the convention. So hopefully that'll happen.
Yeah. Well, same. Yeah, appreciate what you're doing. Obviously, anybody putting out helping trappers and trapping, that's always a really good thing. So we appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Anyone listening, I'll have a link to your channel down in the description as well. So subscribe
Awesome.
and do all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you.
All right, Isaac. We'll catch you later, and good luck this season.
Sounds good, man. Yep. Same to y'all.
Appreciate it.